Alright gang, we're ready to roll back out onto the streets. As I mentioned, the Golden Rhinos, the private mercenary gang hired by evil corporatist Rukaku Goji, is currently on the rampage. The Golden Rhinos use full-on just submachine guns and jets and artillery. Again, these are the people that orchestrated a fictional equivalent of the Move bombing. Although I'm gonna save really quick so that we don't lose any of those cool tags we just made. But this is kind of an open world game and I've been rushing through it. So we're gonna see if there's anyone hanging around we want to recruit who's still out there alone and struggling since the Golden Rhinos are overrunning everything. And let's beautify the streets with our new tags, you know? I don't remember exactly how this game completely resolves, but we are pretty close to the end. Hopefully I don't accidentally trigger the end game. I want to take note of some environmental storytelling details as we travel about.
There ain't no superheroes to save the day in the world of the streets, baby. It's all up to you to take on the road for yourself. Low-life punks are rampaging through Jewel Street. Highway 0 is in a sea of flames. Golden Rhinos are laying waste to the street, showing no mercy. You gotta stop them.
Also worth noting is DJ Professor K, who's gotten threatened by this point. He's a little scared to be running commentary. They have threatened him. I don't know if scared's the right word. DJ Professor K don't fold so easily, but he gave us a warning in the cutscene that they know where he is. Alright, let's cover some tags. Is there any characters here? No. So I don't have the secret tape from Kibagaka Hill, or the fortified residential zone, or Sky Dinosaurian. Okay. Yeah, let's make things colorful. It is great how even though this game is stuck to a style and a time, there is still room within it to express the now in the way that I'm making these politically charged tags. It meets the player halfway with the creativity of hip-hop. Shibuya Key. I think Shibuya Key is more the main operator there in terms of it incorporating remixing and caricature. This game has been a great exploration of how, you know, mise-en-scene, desperate parts, music, gameplay, mechanics, culture, story, all like synthesize into a greater whole. You know, it's about the culture of the street and what constitutes a culture. And so, for instance, what separates the Hells Angels from perhaps the outlaw culture of the early 1900s as described by Jack Black is the Hells Angels aren't a constructive or alternative project. They're merely a destructive resentment against the ruling class. They're not interested in like building a new society or addressing social inequalities through non-violent or legit or any means really. They just want to ride their motorcycle, go vroom vroom, be mean to people, beat their wives, kick their dogs. And the Hells Angels, for how violent they are, Thompson sees them often excused or seen as cute novelties of the culture. It speaks to a sort of irony poisoning that would become more problematic as the century progressed, obviously. Yeah, only a punk beats his wife and dog. He tells the dude that, and they flip on him. But the Hells Angels, they're admired as like these kind of like cowboys and knights errant on like quests. but they're not. They're peddling drugs to kids. They're committing huge acts of like theft and damage, and just they're roaming about just being loud. He talks a lot about, both in the book and in interviews after, how much what they're doing is like for attention. Like, it's loud. Like, the whole reason they're on a bike is to draw the attention to themselves. It's a sort of like, look at me they're not getting from the mainstream. They're not cool. They're not seen as like desirable. They're not on TV. They're not on the radio. There's that want to participate in the American panopticon, which, you know, it sounds maybe more far-fetched in the 60s, but seeing now how we're so incentivized to be online and to share our data and to report to our corporate masters, there's some credence to the fact that the system does reward and incentivize wanting to be the special boy. Some may call that the neoliberalism of the system, the way we all want to be Luke Skywalker. All right, let's save. A bit less far-fetched now that we've been through Reagan and Trump. We haven't been through Trump. We went through Trump 1, but you get what I'm saying. Time has... Hell yeah, dog. Whoops. I don't know why I thought that was gonna work. All right, so I do not have the secret tape for Key Rock a Hill. Where could it be? Whoops. I always make that jump thinking I'm supposed to wall ride that. What's even more shocking is when Thompson is identifying this sort of ironic cover the Hells Angels get as like cutesy kind of like cowboy holdovers just doing fun little things on their bikes is, as I said, they beat the shit out of him. He almost died. And there's a clip you can find on YouTube quite easily about an interview. He was doing an interview on a talk show like a year after the book came out. And they jump him with a Hell's Angel. They surprise him by bringing a Hell's Angel out to talk and like defend himself because the book's 60% trash or whatever, according to the guy. And in the course of this Hell's Angel tearing into Thompson, he makes a bunch of riffs about how he's just a regular guy like anyone else, and like he should just have his privacy respected. Because, I mean, he's just beating his old lady. Like, he makes a joke about how he likes cold beer and hitting his wife. And the audience of these respectable Americans all dressed up in suits and nice dresses, they laugh and they chuckle at that. Just completely reaffirming what Thompson's saying. There is this violent biker gang going uncriticized because they're just seen as cute and funny at the same time that the Black Panthers and other such social activist groups are getting scapegoated as domestic terrorists, you know? It speaks to the pigment preferences of American consumers when it comes to their outlaw culture and what they'll permit as acceptable. Yeah, everybody freaking claps. Right on, L-Man. But then you look at something like Donald Trump's whole grab him by the pussy fiasco, And again, it's just locker room talk. Everybody chuckles at it. It is an American sickness that is older than 2016. And we have historical documents pointing towards this. We need a bigger understanding of our current macro-social climate than just assuming one man came in and changed everything over the course of 3 years. He did not. And there's much deeper work to be done than just electing a different guy. If I were a secret tape on Kiwagaka Hill, where would I hide? It's okay if I don't find it, I will move on to the next area. But it is worth noting, you know, these are stacked houses. This is a slum. This is how people live in this world. Notice how intentionally brown and drab it is as compared to, say, Shibuya Terminal or Chuo Street, where care is paid to the private property of the store owners and the shopping districts, more so than the actual slums people live in, or apartment complexes even. Thanks, Crudler. Enjoy the rest of your night. Chat, let me know if you see a secret tape. I suspect it might be in like one of these underground segments. Cool. Ooh, there's some tags up there. Tight. Nice. Yeah, there's some interesting stuff going on with these lights. Damn. Haha, land on a rail and it saves you. That's magic. Alright, I'm just gonna hit this big tag and then we're gonna go to the fortified residential district. Alright, let's do this. What is love? See, there's nice little considerations down here still as far as climbing paths. Nope, nothing. Dang. Yeah, oh man, something that stuck with me about Gonzo journalism, the idea is the way to tell the truth is to move the reader closer to the experience of being there. Yes, you're closing the gap. You're deconstructing the distance mechanism that reporting usually does. This is something, you know, a lot of reporting will do today with its passive voice reporting on stuff like ongoing genocides. It is worth noting, too, that while he is considered, you know, the creator of gonzo journalism, or one of the leading figures of it, before he was a gonzo journalist, he was operating on sort of the new journalism current, which was emergent in the 50s and 60s. This was stuff like Joan Didion and Truman Capote, or like Tom Wolfe, Norman Mailer, William S. Burroughs. Well, William S. Burroughs was more, you know, the Beat generation, but William S. Burroughs is someone we've cited a few times as, you know, he was a fan of You Can't Win as well as Gangs of New York. All right. So this is where the cops were gonna blow everything up. I just want to take a look around really quick, because this is like the bottom of the slums. Yeah, I find it interesting too, because so, you know, You Can't Win and Gangs of New York, both works of early journalism about like the American underclass. And so, you know, Burroughs, who's often also, you know, considered a postmodernist, was basically saying, you know, in the post-war era that, like, you know, there's still things we were burying or not paying attention to, like, the world as advertised on TV was not reality. And that's often, I mean, in the most basic-brained way, what you can consider postmodernism in a constructive sense. I don't know why that's such a disagreeable statement for so many people. I think that's reflective of a type of American that has been tricked into believing TV is real, and that's exactly why we need postmodernism, so that we don't get all frustrated when our life doesn't turn out like a sitcom. That's part of what fuels contemporary resentment culture, I suspect. That's also why video games are such a strong opiate, because, you know, they're substitute realities. You interact with them, and the good ones successfully trick you into believing you're visiting another world or participating in a big, fantastic narrative that's better than your mundane 9 to 5. Oops, damn. Okay. But yeah, worth considering what macro social factors may be driving you frustrated. I kind of like how ugly the super small one is. I was like, do I want to change the background? I was like, nah, they don't deserve it. Oh, there's a good diesel. Do I have? I don't. I do not have the secret tape for this area either. Keep an eye out, chat. But yeah, notice these slums, just the industrial despair of it. Oh, I think I can grind up that thing down there. But there is something worth noting too in the way Thompson has been warped into just a general contrarian dude in the pop culture. If he was in 1967 calling out these sort of calls of, if he was pointing out this underboiling resentment culture, and he made a book that was well received and critically acclaimed, why is it that nothing was done to address the kind of things he was worried about? Should his anxieties be taken seriously? Like, what responsibility, once known, does American society have of addressing these things? We are a society where we will talk about reading books and meritocracy and want everybody to do their own research and think for themselves, and there's this conception of like everybody's going to study hard and things are going to turn out fine, but like what if studying does nothing? Is that too nihilistic to consider? Or does it just kind of lay bare how, you know, it's a consumer society run by some other oligarchical device that we don't really have much of a hand on? In which case, no degree of individual expression is really radical, because that's what we're permitted to do in lieu of real radical action, is perform however abrasive we wish. Alright, let's try grinding up that thing. Okay, there's some dudes here. Are these workers organizing? That seems pretty cool. Here at the bottom of everything. I hope that's what's up. There's just dudes down here. Alright. Yeah. Okay, this leads us back up to where Pimp was. Not beat gum. Oh, there's the tape. Cool. I don't think I'm going to do all the optional stuff in this game, y'all, but I do want to find the tapes. Just so that if I ever come back, I'll have the whole Tony Hawk's Pro Skater experience to go on instead of just the story to pursue. Don't know where Keep It Gogger Heels is, though. Maybe one more go around while we talk, L-Man. Yes, L-Man, I agree with that. That, you know, you say that touches on something you've observed. People don't seem to think of building social structures as a thing they do all the time. We are made to just consider everything magic, basically. Just consider how automated things are made to look. You know, how things get to your grocery store, the logistical supply chain work. I mean, with the impending, I don't even know what to refer to as what the economy's about to do, but, you know, we're seeing in real time Americans not understanding how or what the supply chain is, and we're gonna have a couple weeks of pain here if we don't hell, it might be months at this point, we will see. But yeah, like a city is not something that just popped out of the ground. It is a collection of separate actors and business, not just like altruistic actors either. Like, the whole reason we have cities is because it's ways for finance to centralize itself and like reconstruct itself into other things and like, profitable technologies and stuff like that. But in order for those things to happen, municipalities have to do some collective shit. This is something that the Trump election, I think, really made apparent to me, is even among like secular atheist types of lefties and liberals, there was this hope that something would just reassert normalcy. And even if you're, again, like an atheist or agnostic liberal type, the hope that like reality has some sort of normality to it, or that normality is something that will just like reassert itself, like that's an act of faith right there, in a way that just straight up theism with doubts would not be. Because I mean, at least with theism, you believe there's some sort of animator that needs to be believed in or acted on, or some sort of ritual participation towards making the good. But to not believe in anything and just assume like something normal, like norms are constructed first off. Like, to assume that they'll just assert themselves, especially if you don't believe in any kind of higher form of organizing power. No, dude, people do that, and you need to conceive of what it means for people to do this. I think working in media has honestly helped me understand this a bit, in the sense that like, you see what goes into making a TV show, even something on a small scale like a music video or a commercial. You see the body of behind the camera talent and just like paperwork, logistics, the bureaucratic side of all that. Just so much goes into making things, and then you realize what the things aren't telling people. I mean, I don't know about anyone else, but I feel maybe the household I grew up in was very TV-centric, and then you go out into the real world, and again, if you've been TV-centric but TV-skeptical. I remember from a very early age my folks being like, things that happen in movies aren't real, like dolls, ghosts, etc. Don't freak out. It was like, okay. There's always been like a healthy sense of skepticism, even though we were heavy TV watchers, and I guess that's also why, like, despite being a heavy gamer, I was skeptical or in want of mixing things up beyond just playing video games. But to speak about resentment culture and the earlier point I was making about Americans getting mad when their life doesn't look like a sitcom, yeah, you think things are just supposed to happen a certain way. There's a pre-Christian Greek sense of fate, in a sense, that like, I don't know if you'd call it destiny or just, the conception of what your life narrative, life script is. I don't know how often is I'll log on to social media and see some 28-year-old talking about their life's over because they didn't do X, Y, and Z by 25. Yeah, 3256, there's a great scene in the Comedy Central show Herbert that shows the years of long of life of a banana, from labor to grow it halfway across the world and shipped to your store, only to end up in an office and thrown out because of the brown spot on it. And the thing is, to ship that banana, it is too expensive to ship one banana. They have to ship those bananas at scale, and they have to sell a high volume of those bananas shipped at scale. Otherwise, like, the actual profit on the sale of banana is like 3%, like 3 pennies for every dollar spent. So they just have to sell an extreme amount of bananas. So like, even if the supply chain doesn't totally fuck up in the getting everything back to the shelf sense, if people can't buy things off the shelves and the shelves aren't replenishing fast enough, that too can cause all kinds of crappy economic shit to happen. Yeah, when Michael was talking with Todd McGowan of Y Theory, shout out to Michael Burns and Todd McGowan, check out Michael Burns' channel, check out Y Theory, talking about the design of the iPhone not having screws in it, that very much is intended to make it look like a piece of magic. I mean, we're getting inundated right now with stories of people who believe ChatGPT has a soul and is alive and talking to them because they are like the spark bringer who like introduce sentience to their AI. Well, damn, I didn't mean to do a whole nother route, but let's investigate these sub-floors. I kind of anticipated today being a chiller session of exploring and taking in the world because I knew I was going to ramble a lot about Hunter S. Thompson and his resentments idea. Oh, here's some stuff to spray. Quite a bit of stuff, actually. Let's do it. Oh, Cube's not the best. Or I'm also out with graffiti. I would say Cube's rated graffiti's not the best. That video where Michael talked to Todd McGowan, the back half of it, when Michael's watching Jordan Peterson videos, Jordan Peterson has just a mind-numbingly bad take. Well, Jordan Peterson and James Lindsay, just a mind-numbingly bad read on Paradise Lost and the Satanic. Even if you're not like a Levian Satanism or like a contrarian, like Satanist type. Free Palestine, guys. Abolish ICE. Always. ACAB. Just mind-numbing how bad that Jordan Peterson, James Lindsay talk on Satanism is. Alright, we're back on the quest for the tape, guys. But yeah, it's worth noting that Thompson does Hell's Angels. It's quite popular. But then, you know, it's just seen as like an affective kind of curiosity thing, not a look into a boiling underclass culture thing, outlaw culture. Were cowboys gangsters? Who gets classified as a gangster in America? You know, there's the Irish mob, there's the Italian mob, there's the Jewish mob. What do you call the white Anglo-Saxon Protestant mob? You call them the cops. That is something, you know, I guess to some extent too, the Irish become cops. You know, law enforcement programs are DEI for Irish Americans who want to be seen as white, so there's that. But then you read a book like Days of Rage talking about stuff like the Weather Underground and the Simeonese Liberation Army, and you realize, oh, there were domestic terrorist groups in the 70s doing things. And it's only the ones of darker skin pigment that seem to have caught the eye of law enforcement. Some of these white ones get away scot-free, and 20 years later are doing interviews on CNN. Others get to become president. It does speak to the pure affective mode of American pop culture, though, because it's been noted for a certain sector of liberals, it's not that Trump is actually doing, you know, the ICE raids and the kids in camps and that. It's that he's doing it while looking tacky. It's all about the affect and the mannerisms being off. He's not sending kids to camps with dignity. He's not enforcing stricter immigration policy with tact. He's making America look silly. The cowboy has to look righteous when he's slaying the Indians. If he looks too mean or stupid, it lays bare what is actually going on in the mythology. Alright, I've gone too many times around this map looking for the tape and I haven't found it. I will no longer subject y'all to that. Let's get out of here. Unless it's just mysteriously right there. Whoa. Damn it. I should have just gone into first person. There's no binoculars, so I was about to ask if there were some way to do a zoom, Dark Souls style. Skate Souls. It's right there. Oh? We found it, y'all. I think we can get back up there if we just follow this way. Oh man, I vaguely remember ads for Stuntman on PS2. I'd never played it though. Alright, we've discovered the secret tape on our way out, so we're like that sweet, sweet heroin. We just need more. But you know what? It's cool. We're getting familiar with our neighborhood. We are exploring the streets and learning about the plight of the people while also beautifying the neighborhood. The ludonarrative harmony of what your free time means in this game. It is so good. Alright, so I'm going to want to get on the one that goes super low. Right. Dang. Is there a ramp? You know what, Josh? I believe you about that remake thing because that generation is right in the sweet spot for a lot of early PS2, GameCube, Xbox One games were like very conceptually interesting, but maybe the hardware was just a bit too limited. Which is why, like, when the PS3 came around, like something like The Last of Us, it was just a big version of what like a lot of PS2 games were trying with like prestige storytelling at the time. So yeah, I'm kind of excited. I have yet to check it out, but there's that remake of The Thing, the PS2 game, and I played the original. I actually have it on hand here. I want to play it for the stream. But they did a remake of The Thing PS2 game. I've been kind of curious to check out because It came out at a time when they hadn't figured out third-person controls with 2 sticks, and it has a weird auto-aim feature. I'm curious what the updated controls are like. Yeah, and the consoles were still just a bit too clunky compared to PCs. So you weren't getting yet like 1-1 copies of PC games on console. It was still kind of like ports had differences, and it was an interesting era. I kind of liked how some of that turned out. Fun fact, Jet Grind Radio, the first game in the Jet Set Radio series, has a Game Boy Advance port. It's like an isometric thing. It looks like it was made by the same people who did the Game Boy Advance version of the Tony Hawk's Pro Skater games. I hear it's surprisingly and shockingly faithful to the original Dreamcast game. I have stated before for reasons that I prefer this one to the original, but I mean, it's an impressive piece of GBA engineering. Alright, we're gonna get out of the sewers, we're gonna get kind of back out into the light. I think it's important to note too, because I'm talking about how the Hells Angels as a gang have no constructive project. Thompson points out that's kind of the point, like they feel left behind in society. And this is something Jacob and I get at when we talk about like everybody should be able to do their own arts and crafts and have their own community theater and all that. Like, even something silly like that will keep you grounded and keep you from going insane. This is the whole Robert Putnam wrote a book called Bowling Alone in the 90s. He's a sociologist or historian and anthropologist. Bowling Alone's the name of the book and the name of the thesis, but his whole thesis is more and more Americans are bowling alone. Like they don't have social clubs to go to. They don't have friends to hang out with. And I do think, just from my own personal experience doing arts and crafts and movie shit around Austin in my 20s, that did, in a lot of ways, lead to constructive and creative work, but also friends and a sense of community that kind of mitigates my temptation to go join a cult or, develop some kind of resentment towards the contemporary now. I know so many people, not so many, but there's a few people I know online from high school still that I'll keep in touch with, and some of them do seem a bit bitter or like lost to like this sense of nostalgia that like things just aren't what they used to. And I mean, I think that's because when you're younger, especially in America, like you go to public school, like you're forced to socialize and be around people and kind of find common ground. Even if you're not a good student getting straight A's, like maybe you have some friends and stuff who all agree like, hey, this teacher's an asshole, or like, hey, like we like making music. Like it's not just that you're learning to do schoolwork, it's that you're learning to deal with like systems of authority and control and like the simulacrum of American adult life. But theoretically, it's a testing ground where you learn, you have training wheels. Of course, certain classes and colors of people are given more benefit of the doubt when they're younger, and others are criminalized early, so there's that to address. But long story short, do arts and crafts with your friends, find social solidarity, not just as a kid in school, but, in your adult life. I actually think there's something cute to the way, Ben Shapiro and Jeremy Boring of the Daily Wire just like really wanted to make movies. Right-wingers get kind of trashed for being quote-unquote failed celebrities, but I mean, you can turn on Sirius XM radio and find like has-been celeb pundits doing just whatever for NBC to kill airtime. America is full of has-been celebrities and wannabe celebrities. It's kind of our whole thing. Like, we condition people to want to be on TV and to be the special boy. I think we're just recognizing the economy can't sustain much of that for much longer, and we're getting nervous about it. Yeah, boring is out. There was the whole falling apart of it, which I find very interesting that it happens during Trump term 2, because, you know, the mask is off, the innuendo is gone. Unless he does some real tyrant shit and does some coup shit for a third term, the propaganda is exhausted, you know? There's not an ongoing, like, serious ideological project worth keeping, like, the respectability around for. It's kind of crazy, the divide we're seeing. All right, so we were just kind of going through the slums, Kibagaka Hill, the sewers, looking for secret tapes, exploring areas we kind of rushed through last time, soaking in the sights. It is currently 9:05. We're gonna go ahead and take a quick break, y'all. So get up, stretch, smoke them if you got them, refresh your beverages, refresh your snacks. I'm gonna go ahead and make sure I don't cramp up here. We're gonna dance around, and I'll be back at 9:15. How about that? Until then, y'all chill, and I'll pull up the break time screen here. Yeah, Josh, I did start that Jose video. Jose had such a good video on Mad Men, it drove me to start rewatching the series, which, one of the best TV shows of all time. All right, but seriously, I'll be back at 9:15. This is TechnoPoverty. We are jamming out to JSRF. Henry will be right back. Y'all get stretched, get rehydrated, re-up your snacks, smoke them if you got them, and I'll see you soon.